Robert, you there?
Yep. I'm
okay,
here.
what you got for us?
Well, I was just listening to the show, and first thing I wanted to do was apologize for any Christians that you gentlemen have come across in your lifetime that's been disappointing to you. I know that there's a lot of people that proclaim to be Christians that are so shallow spiritually that it'd be better if they just kept quiet.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they do a lot of talking when they don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I watch your show for the last, I guess, year or two off and on.
Okay.
And it just seems like a lot of Christian people have said and done things that are disappointing. And so it's first of all, it's just out of ignorance and how shallow they are in their spiritual walk.
I'm not saying that this wacky Christian over here is doing something stupid. I'm saying the fundamental tenets of Christianity, that there's a God who created the world, punished everyone for original sin, sent Jesus down, who died for our sins, rose from the dead, and now we're all saved through faith in him. If you don't believe any of that, pretty much, you can't be a Christian. That's pretty much fundamental to it. There are serious moral, ethical, theological, scientific problems with that whole story. So regardless of what Christians may be doing, Christianity itself, the beliefs of it, are also not good.
Well, you know,
it's got problems.
Well, actually, when I look at whether it's evolution or creation or people's theories, there's nobody that can go back X amount of billions or millions or thousands of years that really know everything. We all, whether you're a scientist or just a thinker, we use logic and reason.
To a certain extent, yes, but science also uses evidence.
Evidence, right.
They can actually go dig stuff up out of the ground.
Right, no, I agree.
Right, repeatability, predictions, etc.
Right, but unfortunately, I don't think that any of our great scientists or whatever has all the answers about the beginning.
And no, but they would be the first to tell you that.
But they've got pretty significant evidence pointing towards this general area.
Right. Well, my point is that really I think that as far as whether in creation theory or evolution,
There is no creation theory.
Really?
Basically, according to them.
Do you know what theory means?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me what theory means?
Yes, I do, but we're kind of limited on time. I'd like to finish what I was going to say. My point is between evolution and creation, they really kind of go hand in hand. Because I believe that there's an evolution process. I'm not an atheist, but I believe that there is an evolution process. It doesn't mean that you have to believe only one side only or the other side only. But really, I think they combine or they overlap or they intertwine.
I would agree that you don't have to throw away one to believe in the other.
Yeah, I agree that they're not mutually exclusive. Yeah. I only agree that they overlap to the extent that we would assume that creationism is true in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, and the problem is that we haven't seen any evidence of any supernatural involvement in the creation of life or anything like that. We haven't seen any evidence of it.
Right.
Therefore, to say that it goes hand in hand and it kind of intertwines with it, not necessarily. Well, again, there's no evidence of it. Therefore, we should basically leave it out and assume that those parts are just unanswered.
Right.
So far.
Right. Okay. Well, all I can say is that I'll give an example, and this is just an example, as to where in Genesis where it speaks of God creating light, and there was light. And in evolution or in theories about the beginning of the universe, the Big Bang theory, is that I really think that they could really go hand in hand, is that on the Christian side, they believe that God spoke it into existence. And at the same time, the Big Bang theory, if that's true, or the galaxy's life coming to, could be at the same time.
Right, but that's really shoehorning in, something that we already that you guys already believed about the Bible into discovered scientific facts. I mean, they didn't come up with the Big Bang Theory, for instance, just by reading the Bible and thinking about what it means. The Big Bang Theory came after making certain observations about the light that's reaching us from various places in the universe without reference to... I mean, what I'm saying is that the Bible hasn't been much of a useful way of finding stuff out in the past. It's easy to retrofit the Bible, or sometimes not so easy, but you can retrofit the Bible into things that science has discovered, like all of a sudden, you discover, hey, it's okay for the Earth to go around the sun, because if you read the Bible a certain way, then it doesn't really contradict that. But you wouldn't have figured out from reading the Bible that the Earth goes around the sun.
Well, I don't know how much you've read the Bible, but the Bible...
I've read it.
Huh? Beg your pardon?
I've read it.
Good. I read stuff, and I hear stuff on the news nearly every day of my life about places on planet Earth that the Bible spoke of and was written.
Yeah, but at the time that the Bible was written, those places were contemporary. I mean, it's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Well, I mean, Spider-Man lives in
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man lives in New York, right?
Uh-huh.
New York's a real place, right?
Uh-huh.
And future historians, after New York has crumbled to the ground, might look back at Spider-Man and say, hey, maybe there was a real place called New York, and then archaeological evidence would prove that it's right. But that just proves that the author was writing about a place he actually knew, New York. It doesn't mean that Spider-Man was real.
I see. Well, when I read and hear about on the news about Jerusalem and the whole Middle East, the Euphrates River, and etc., is that the Bible is accurate about many things that to this day are still there, that were there thousands of years ago, that were written.
And that's no surprise, is all I'm saying.
Okay, well, I hear y'all laugh and joke about the Bible as if it's some kind of joke. And to when you think about it, thousands of years ago, educated people wrote just like
about things of their day.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so, and I find it refreshing that today places are there today as they were thousands of years ago. And so I do have some faith and belief in the accuracy of the Bible. So to throw it out and make fun of it, and as if it's
we don't intend to make fun of it. We intend to basically say that this is one book with a story in it that has some references to real things.
Right.
If you look at the writings of the Egyptians in the Book of the Dead, for instance, it references actual people and places in the Egyptian history, essentially.
Right.
And those exist. The Nile, Egypt, the Tutankhamun, and so on, they actually existed.
Right. And that's
but that doesn't mean that we have to take the Book of the Dead and sailing on the Nile towards the sun in the afterlife, and your heart will be weighed against the feather of knowledge. That doesn't mean that we have to accept that as truth.
Right.
There's some bits in the Bible that are based on reality. I accept that totally.
There's a lot.
But to say that there's a God who created the world...
Beg your pardon?
But to take that and to assume that everything in there is true, including God creating the universe and the tribulation and all of this stuff, that's taking it a bit too far.
Right. Okay, well, I can understand, because some things you really have to go by faith and to believe, and so that if you
don't agree with that.
Yeah, but we don't agree with that in any way.
Having faith, you don't have faith in anything.
Not in the way you're using it. No.
What would be your definition, I guess, of faith?
Faith, it's to believe. Put it into a definition. Faith is that inside of me, I believe that the Word of God is true and accurate. I have faith.
With or without evidence? I mean, is faith the same thing as believing something? Because, I mean...
to me, faith is believing things that you don't always have evidence. There's things that are in the Bible, there is evidence. There's things in the Bible that you either choose to have faith and believe, or if you just go by logic and reason and proof, you can't. And that's the difference in spirituality.
But shouldn't you put more trust in things that are based in logic and truth and evidence than just someone saying so?
I do that, and you do that in your everyday life.
Okay.
That's, every day you go by logic and reason and thinking.
Yeah, because it works.
Rational decisions.
Right,
Spirituality.
but to say that there's something somehow noble or uplifting or particularly good about believing something that you don't have evidence for, that we don't agree with.
Okay. Well, if I have to go by only what I have evidence on, such as, let's say, okay, I don't believe the Bible, don't believe in God, but, mankind, we've got proof and evidence in mankind and what direction we're going with mankind. And when you look at the world today, it's pretty scary what direction we're going with mankind. So I choose to believe in something beyond mankind because we're on a destructive path.
And again, that's something I always have issue with.
Okay.
Religious people love to point out that this world is going to hell in a handbasket. And I don't know if I always agree with that. The kind of things that have been done, we'll say in the last 50 years or so, or a little bit longer than that, we've had major advances in science, which,
Right.
We've gotten polio pretty much cured. Smallpox out of the equation. People's lifespans much longer than they ever were in the past.
Much longer.
Right.
There are a lot of good things going on in the world.
I
today.
agree. I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not saying that, but when you listen to the news and you read the newspapers across the world, it's not getting better overall.
You know that newspapers, first of all, my politics indicate that things aren't going that great these last few years.
They're not.
However, I take a longer view of the trend and think, well, during the McCarthy years, things weren't going that well either, and they got better.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're going to go ahead and let you go at this point. We've got a matter of seconds left in the show.
All right.
Thanks a lot for calling in.
We love you guys.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
We love you too.
As for anyone else who's watching, didn't get a chance to get on the air, tv@atheist-community.org.
A designer God cannot be used to explain organized complexity, because any God capable of designing anything would have to be complex enough to demand the same kind of explanation in his own right. God presents an infinite regress. This argument demonstrates that God is very, very improbable indeed.